Alright, as promised, this is the third and final video for the House of Frederic Malle for a while, unless you want me to review the moon. Please put a comment down to let me know. I'll see how many people request a review for the moon. But today, I'm ranking 10 Frederic Malle fragrances that feature rose. These are mostly rose prominent or use rose pretty dominantly in the fragrance. So I thought I'd rank them because it seems not only does Frederic Malle like to use Dominique Ropion as a perfumer for a lot of the fragrances. He's created 7 fragrances, Frederic Malle, but it seems also that there are 10 fragrances that pretty predominantly use rose as a note in the fragrances. There are others, a few others that were like very lightly used as a rose note, but these are 10 that use it pretty dominantly. So if you want to find out what they are and how I rank them, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, today it's Frederic Malle and rose. They go hand in hand. In fact, my very first fragrance I bought for this house was a rose fragrance. It was Portrait of a Lady. And now I've got 10. I've got 10 in my collection, and they use rose pretty dominantly in the notes. Some use it a little more than others, but they're using them pretty dominantly, as I said, but a few others used them a lot less, and I decided to leave those off. In fact, I don't even own them. But before I let you know what they are, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed to the channel, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. Let's jump right into this. It's a top 10 list. I'm ranking them with my 10 favorites. Least favorite is at number 10. Most favorite is at number 1. Again, these are all fragrances that I really love, but you have to rank them, so we're going to give you number 10 right off the bat. And it's going to be UNE FLEUR DE CASSIE, this one right here. So, UNE FLEUR DE CASSIE is a fragrance created by Dominique Ropion. Once again, he is, he's, like I said, he's created 7 fragrances for this house. Came out in 2000, and I think Frederic Malle launched in 2000, so this is probably one of their first fragrances. To me, this smells very musky, but in there, very dominantly, the Cassie or the Mimosa note is pretty prominent. And I think Cassie and Mimosa are from the same plant. From what I've done in my research, they smell a little different, but they're coming from the same plant. But this one has a very dominant rose note at the top. When you spray it, you start the rose right off the bat. It smells very, very rosy. But it does get a little floral, and that mimosa-like smell comes through pretty dominantly here, but it does settle to a sandalwoody vanilla. So it does get a little sweet, but you are dealing with roses and mimosa, rose in the top and the mimosa in the heart. It is a unique fragrance. I felt like this one is at the bottom for sure because the rose is not as strong as the rest of the fragrances, so it comes in just not so dominantly. This one actually, as I said, 2000 is when it came out, created by Dominique Ropion. 100 ml is 330. They do have a 50 ml for 230, 30 ml for 165, and they do have a small 10 ml for 67. So number 9 is Lipstick Rose, and this one's created by Ralph Schweiger. So Lipstick Rose is a very lipsticky fragrance. I feel like this one is very rosy with iris, and it does smell like lipstick or a purse. There are some slightly leathery touches in there as well, but it's mostly like makeup. Lipstick is basically what I smell with this one. This one did come out in 2000 once again. Again, it's created by Ralph Schweiger, as you can see right there. This one retails for $290 as 100 ml, 50 ml, $205, 30 ml, 145, 10 ml, 57. But what's going on with this one is at the top you've got grapefruit and violet. In the heart there's the rose along with the iris and raspberry. So there are some fruity touches here. Certainly there. It's back there, like back there. But there's something almondy happening in here as well. But as the fragrance dries down, it's vanillic and it's musky. So in the end, it's powdery, it's lipsticky, it's a little bit of makeup-y. Just imagine like going to the changing room where, you know, dancers at a show are putting on their face makeup and things like that. There's a smell with makeup and things like that. It kind of reminds me of that. Of course, it really does remind me of lipstick because that's the name, but also all the makeup that, you know, is sort of goes along with the lipstick. Anyway, number 9, Lipstick Rose. Interesting fragrance. If you like lipstick, if you like rose, that one's definitely one for you to try. Now, sadly, this one is very, very low. It might upset some of you, but again, this is a ranking video and I have to put them someplace. This one was featured in the video just prior to this, the one that I ranked the Desert Gems fragrances. This is Dawn. So this one is very, very pricey. It is rosy, but the rose doesn't appear as much when you're smelling it out of the bottle as it does on skin. This one is a 100 ml, $1,600, a 50 ml for $960. And that's all the sizes they have. And this one was launched in 2018. Notes are rose and pink pepper at the top, heart olibanum, base notes labdanum, vetiver, oak moss, and oud. Again, it's an oud experience here, but as I was saying in the previous video, it's very stark. It's a cooler experience, whereas the night, which is also on this list, is a lot warmer experience to me. But when you're wearing it, it does warm up for sure. It does get more warmer, but upon initial spray, it's a pretty a cooler experience for an oud and rose combo. And the incense in here is very, very prominent. So I think it's that incense that just gives it a very cold experience. Anyway, that's Dawn at number 8. This was a sad one. I had to put this at number 7 because there's just no way you can rank these the way you can without moving them up, but I can't, you know, double add these fragrances. So at number 7, it ended up being UNE Rose, this one right here. And if you like that really, really juicy, beautiful, jammy rose smell that's almost going dry, I don't know if you've ever done this before, but if you've ever picked fresh roses, the ones that are very, very fragrant, not the ones that you buy that don't have any smell, but the ones that you pick, they're slightly, you know, they're in a vase, but they're starting to get dry. And then you take them out and you hang them upside down. So they're starting to dry up even more. And you put your nose on it. For me, it smells like the jamminess and the dryness all together, like dried roses and jammy roses at the same time. It's a really, really great rose fragrance. I think it's probably one of the best rose fragrances, but it does really go jammy and slightly sour or tart a little bit, so there's that unique thing happening, and that's why I feel like that tartness makes me appreciate this fragrance in a warmer environment even further. But this one was created by Edward Fleischer, and it came out in 2003. 100 ml 390, 50 ml 265, 30 ml 195, 10 ml 78. And for notes, you've got roses, truffles that grow underground, red wine, fruity notes, vetiver, patchouli, castoreum. But really, really delicious. I feel like this is perfect for hot weather. I feel like in the heat, with the moisture, if there's humidity or anything like that in the heat, the concentration or the depth of the smell of the rose kind of like just blooms and it sweetens up everything. But yes, it does go a little sour or tart, but I like that about it. And sour, tart fragrances, I feel like they're perfect in the heat of the summer. Anyway, UNE Rose at number 7. Gotta rank them the way they're ranked, and that's how it is for you today with this list. So I think the rest of the list is gonna be like one rose fragrance after another. That's amazing. And this one happens to be one of the ones I bought earlier this year, although I think it came late last year. This is Rose and Cuir, this one right here. And this, I feel like this is probably the most masculine rose fragrance that's in here, minus any of the ones that contain oud. That makes sense to you guys, because there's a lot that's coming up that has oud in it. But this one is a very aromatic and dry, herbal, green, vegetal kind of an experience with rose. This is 2019, created by Jean-Claude Elena. 100 ml is $330, 50 ml is $230, 30 ml is $165, 10 ml is $67. Top notes here: geranium, blackcurrant, bourbon geranium. Heart notes: vetiver, cedar. Base notes: leather accord. So the rose is actually created from the geranium. There's an accord, and then the leather is also an accord created with notes. So in the end, you're experiencing two notes created by accords, which is fantastic. When you can make something smell like something else, isn't that amazing? And that's what they've done here. They've made geranium smell like rose, and they've made other notes smell like leather and they've given us a fragrance called Rose and Cuir, leather and rose, obviously, basically. But it's a very, very green fragrance. It smells like herbs chopped up with like rosiness in there, some herbal flowers in there. It's really fantastic. It dries down to a leather, obviously, because that's in the base, but along the way you're experiencing the rosiness and the greenness and the herbal slight bitterness, vegetalness from this one. This is a great release. I love it. But this one was not a love it first sniff, guys. When I first smelled it, I was like, what is that? I don't really care for it. But it grew on me a lot, and I kept coming back to it over and over again. Now I'm really in love with it. Rose and Cuir at number 6. So number 5 is a fragrance that came out 4 years ago, and this is called Superstitious. So Superstitious 2016, 100 ml bottle is $3.90, 50 ml $265, 10 ml $78. And top notes here are rose and jasmine. You do smell that jasmine. It's pretty prominent. Middle notes are aldehydes. There is this effervescent quality about this, very sparkly quality. So when you get that aldehydic note in a fragrance, usually typically goes very light. It doesn't have the denseness, just something about aldehydes, the sparkliness, the effervescence quality makes it a very light experience. But the fragrance is not light, it's a very dense fragrance. But in the base you have amber and vetiver. So in the end it's slightly masculine, it's slightly feminine, but it's a nice contrast, a nice balance. It's intense. It's got a great intense quality to it, but when you're wearing it, it actually wears sort of lightish because of that aldehydic note. So it is, again, utilizing a rose. The rose is pretty prominent. All these fragrances are rosy, obviously, but here it's just a unique combo. It is created by Dominic Ropion. I'm not sure if I said it, and you do pick up his signature style. You do see some of the qualities of this fragrances and other fragrances. The rose probably, I feel like, kind of matches the rose in promise a little bit. So it's just his style that I really love, and obviously this ended up edging out Rose and Cuir, even though I'm really loving Rose and Cuir. Anyway, Superstitious at number 5. And speaking of promise, Promise is at number 4, and this is another great fragrance. As I mentioned in the last video, this has that kind of like spirits, kind of boozy liqueur kind of a smell when you smell it out of its bottle. There's this like kind of barrel aged quality smell to it, but just imagine like an apple liqueur, and the apple smells a little fermented, you know, like how cider smells sometimes when you smell cider, like apple cider, not the juice kind, but the alcohol kind. That smells very prominent here. But this one came out in 2017. It's part of the Desert Gems collection. 100 ml for $3.90, 50 ml for $265, 10 ml for $78. Once again, Dominic Ropion. And with this, the notes here is pink pepper, rosemary oil, apple accord at the top. In the heart notes, you got Bulgarian rose oil, Turkish rose absolute, and clove oil. So there's spice here. Spice with the pink pepper at the top, and spice with the cloves and the heart. But in the base, patchouli, heart, ambroxan, labdanum, cypriol, heart, and castoreum. This is awesome, guys. It's a great boozy fragrance, but a boozy fragrance with apple touches. And again, think of spirits, whiskey, brandy, cognac, Calvados, all of that stuff come to mind with this one. It's fantastic. This is Promise from Frederic Malle, of course, created by Dominic Ropion, and that's in the Desert Gems collection. So the newest fragrance that I have purchased in this video happens to be the Moon, created by Julien Rasquinet, and this is at number 3, the Moon. Again, it's part of the Desert Gems collection, and this one happens to be fantastic smelling. There's lots of rose in here, but there's also lots of fruity notes, and to me it smells like a cross between less animalic oud of the night and also, actually, well, I should take that back. It smells like the less animalic oud and the rose from the night, and also the oud and fruity booziness from Promise. So it's almost like you're taking those two fragrances and meshing it to give this one, and I just have fallen really in love with this one. So this one is 2019 launch, 100 ml bottle for $7.50. This is on the pricey side. 50 ml bottle for $4.50, but it is really, really delicious, guys. And top notes: raspberry, lychee, saffron. Heart notes: olibanum, which is frankincense, Turkish rose, and the base notes: oud and leather. Wow, I'm really obsessing over this one. I just love that combo, and I like the oud and rose thing. It's been overdone, yes, it's been done over and over and over again, but that added fruitiness gives it a very, very unique twist that I'm obsessing over. Anyway, that is the Moon. If you haven't tested it out, please do test it out. Get a sample, try it. In fact, if you're curious about these fragrances, don't blind buy. Get some samples or decants so you can test them out to see how they are for you. Anyway, the Moon is fantastic. If you want a full review of this, let me know. My second favorite happens to be the Night. Can you guess number one? So the Night is created by Dominique Ropion, came out in 2014. It's one of the pricier fragrances here, along with Dawn, $1,600 for 100 ml, 50 ml $960, and as I said in the previous video, there is a 250 ml bottle of this. It's $3,425. Once again, created by Dominique Ropion. This one has top notes of rose and saffron, heart notes of 100% natural oud, base notes of frankincense and sandalwood for one fantastic animalic oud and rose concoction. Really, 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 really good. Really, 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 really pricey though. This one was not a love at first sniff. At first, I was a little taken aback. It kind of was overly animalic for me, but my palate opened up, and I appreciate this kind of fragrance, even though lately I'm appreciating animalic fragrances less and less. For some reason, I really love the way this one has come out. The other thing I've also mentioned is this one kind of, to me, reminds me of the animalic oudy version of Portrait of a Lady. So I feel like Dominique Ropion, who created this and Portrait of a Lady, hint hint, he has taken some of the similar notes. Of course, the rose is very similar to the rose in Portrait of a Lady in here. So I feel like there's some kind of a connection in his signature style. I don't know, but it really reminds me of like a less spicy, less patchouli, more rosy version, an oudy version of Portrait of a Lady, if that makes sense. But it is on the pricey side, and you got to appreciate this only if you appreciate those animalic ouds. Little goes a long way as well. 1-2 sprays and you'll be smelling great all day long. Anyway, this is the Night at number 2. And I think I've already hinted at number 1. You probably guessed if you've been following me here, and it's Portrait of a Lady. So this one, fantastic. It was a love at first sniff for me. The story was in 2012 or 2013, I went to Barney's here in San Francisco to buy a bottle of Black Afghano. I almost bought this instead of that, but 2 weeks later I went back and bought this because at that time I wasn't spending a lot of money on fragrances, and I didn't have the budget to buy a lot of fragrances, so I couldn't buy both of them at once. But as soon as I smelled it, I was like, this is phenomenal. And that's why it's at number 1. It's an amazing fragrance. I think this is probably the most sold fragrance in the Frederic Malle catalog. In fact, the very first time I bought a bottle, I bought a 50 ml bottle back in 2012 or 2013. While I was buying my bottle, somebody else was buying a bottle as well. So interesting. This came out in 2010. 100 ml bottle is $390, 50 ml bottle is $265, 30 ml $195. They have a 30 ml of this one, and 10 ml $78. And this one is a spicy version of a Rose's fragrance. And this one has notes of cloves, raspberry, rose at the top. It's a spicy fragrance with blackcurrant and cinnamon. That's all on the top. In the heart, you've got patchouli, sandalwood, frankincense. In the base, amber, benzoin, and musk. It is a phenomenal fragrance, guys. And this one garners me a lot of compliments, loads of compliments. People love the way it smells. But this probably, go easy on the trigger if you want compliments. When you overspray, it might turn people off. When you do the right balance, and somebody catches a whiff of your cloud, your sillage, they're going to want to find out what you're wearing, because it just is that kind of a fragrance. It's a big fragrance, it's long lasting, and it smells fantastic. Anyway, Portrait of a Lady, my number 1 favorite rose fragrance from the house of Frederic Malle. And again, all these feature rose, some more than others. Just have to put your nose on them and test them out and see which one has more rose if you want the idea of rose. And again, these are all rose focused, but depending on what you like and what notes you prefer, we'll end up with those. Anyway, thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. Let me know if you like this house, Frederic Malle. Let me know if you want to see a video for the Moon, a full review. And let me know if you like these fragrances I spoke to you about. And if not, what do you think about this house and which fragrances do you love the most? Put a comment down so that I can find out. Other than that, thanks so much for watching today. Please do like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.